So, hi everyone, good morning, and welcome back to this Dharma Friends of Israel meeting with our teacher Geshe Dorji Damdul on what arises through conditions. Just before we start, I'd like to remind you that this teaching, as well as all our previous teaching, is being streamed live and recorded to YouTube. You can find our YouTube channel by clicking the YouTube icon at the Dharma Friends of Israel website or writing TFI Israel in YouTube. Also, I would like to ask if it is possible to please turn on your cameras. It makes for a nicer atmosphere, and also the teacher likes to have a more interactive discussion, and we can all see each other. Lastly, at the event page on the Dharma Friends website, you can find the material for this relevant material for the course, and also the donation button. So I remind you that Dharma Friends of Israel, all our activities are done only by volunteers and financed only by Ghana, by donation, so you can practice generosity and donate for the teacher and the continuation of our activities using either bank transfer or PayPal, whichever you choose. And I will also leave the details here in the chat. So with that, I will, may we all have a beneficial and interesting teaching today. And I'd like to welcome our dear teacher, Geshe Dorji Damdul. Thank you, Geshe.
Okay, thank you, Tomer. And also the Shahala, thank you so much. And Liorala, and all participating for this program, for this teaching. As what we did yesterday, and I can see that most of the faces, you're already into Buddhist philosophy for the last many years. I can see that. So because of this, we're going to do a little bit of setting proper motivation, which will make the whole difference to our practice, that finally what we do is of greater meaning, that you, at least, that you become a happier person, that you become more matured, more sensible, and calm. That is what is bound to happen, depending on the motivation setting. So with this in mind, let us just quickly invoke the spirit of the refuge and bodhicitta, where you invite all the enlightened beings, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all in a space in front of us, and imagine that you are in Rajgir, the place where the Buddha taught the Heart Sutra. And also, just imagine that you are surrounded by two parents, likewise you are all the family members, including children, and all the sentient beings with you. Just let us take a few seconds to invoke this environment, create this environment around you for just for a few seconds. So with this in mind, let us recite the following verses while remembering the meanings by reflecting on the meanings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations through practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. In dependent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme of all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is free of all aberrations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the bodhisattvas, and the Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all laid hearers seeking pacification, complete peace, who through the knowledge of paths cause those helping my greatest achieve the aims of the world, and who through the possession of omniscience help subdue us expound varieties of teachings. The one who is transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata and protector, to you I make prostrations. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations, that is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines for the forever noble light rays, to you the Buddha I make prostrations. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I gender the matter of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay, as we recite this mantra, let us be reminded of the fact that the fears that we dislike, they arise from the negativities, negative thoughts, negative actions. And the happiness we seek, they arise from their respective causes in the form of virtues, benefit others, wisdom, and so forth. And knowing this, how to get rid of the causes of miseries, seeking the advice, the blessings of Buddha Shakyamuni in ways of the wisdom, as the man in which the Buddha taught, you will cut the miseries. You will cut the miseries of all the beings, of your beings and yourself, by cutting the cause of the miseries, finally which is rooted to ignorance. So with this well reflect in your mind, let us say this 3 times together, imagining that all beings are joining you, and in fact, all unnecessary conflicts happen in the world, be it in the family, be it on the international, the global level, between the nations. Let us pray that the wisdom, the sanity, compassion spreads, that all these unnecessary problems, conflicts subside fully. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum desham dathagato yavatat desham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramana yesvaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum desham dathagato yavatat desham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramana yesvaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum desham dathagato yavatat desham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramana yesvaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata, the cessations of causes as well as taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear-light, and non-composite. Such is the nectar-like dharma I've discovered. Finding no one who can fathom this teaching, in silence I'll return to the woods. Beyond our friends' thought and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space. Is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the 3 times, I bear obeisance. All composite things are impermanent. All composite things are impermanent. All contaminated things are the nature of suffering. All phenomena are the nature of emptiness and selflessness. Transcending sorrow is peace. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of everything wholesome. I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, you liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of eons. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of beings, nor does he remove the miseries by his hands. His spiritual realization is not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of the suchness that the beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered miseries glow. If you're attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you're attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you're attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have view. Okay, we will now take the aspiration bodhisattva. This says, I can see that from the faces of the participants, I can see that you're all into Dharma for long, studying Dharma, and the having the inclination towards Dharma, which is so precious. So meanwhile, what do we know? Just imagine that you get X amount of money, and then I'm going to use this. Say, okay, I'm so glad that I have this much money. Now I'll go for a holiday. This one way. Another thing is, okay, I'm so glad that I've now something to share with other people, to the old age home, hospitals, destitutes, education, health. So what makes the difference between these two ways of utilizing the money, the resource that you get? It's a motivation. Where compassion is there, you share this. In the process of sharing, your mind becomes so rich with happiness and joy, very profound joy. And what we're doing here, taking the aspiration bodhisattva vow, this is invoking this compassion within you, that whatever you learn, be it a small thing to a rich intellectual, the rigor, whatever you acquire, whatever you learn, that you share with other people, in the process, because of the sharing, you get the maximum benefit, others get the maximum benefit. So for that matter, we need to invoke this, the catalyst, which is compassion. So as a gesture of that, we're going to take the aspiration bodhisattva vow. And most of you all know about this. Taking the aspiration bodhisattva vow, it does not mean that, okay, now you're bound by a vow. No, anybody who feels the benefit of, or who has the sentiment not to hurt others, and if possible to create happiness, create joy, give happiness for others, help others. If this is who you are eligible to take this aspiration bodhisattva vow. And then you have nothing else as a commitment, as a commitment attached to this. It is simply that from today onwards, I will try my best not to harm others, and if possible, try to render service and make others happy. Okay. And with this in mind, imagine that you are leading this practice and all beings are joining you. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as the previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successfully dwelled in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise, for the benefit of all sentient beings, I'll generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the Bodhisattva practices. Mare, mapat. Mare. See, oh, see, you do shut. Oh, that you might go, Marva. Oh. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as the previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successfully dwelled in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the Bodhisattva practices. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as the previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successfully dwelled in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the Bodhisattva practices. Okay, now we will recite the Heart Sutra mantra. 3 times. Okay, as we recite the Heart mantra, this is again a reminder for us that now I know that I have the seed of perfection within me, which allows you to experience the infinite happiness and fearlessness, and which allows you to create this environment of infinite happiness and fearlessness in the minds of all other sentient beings. So for this matter, how to make it materialize? It is by removing the mental dirt. The gold is already there. The gold, when mixed with the mud, all the nature of the gold is to glow, but the mud forbids the gold from glowing. So my job is to remove the mud. And it's not that the mud can be removed just instantly, because this is a chronic mud. These mental defilements are chronic within us since time immemorial. So it takes time. We have to get rid of them step by step, 5 steps. Gade, gade, para samgade, bodhisattva. 5 steps. So we learn in depth what these 5 steps are. Today, if you get a little time, we'll go into more detail of these 5 steps, what steps are. In other words, that we have to remove for mental dirt in 5 steps. So remember that I am to remove the mental dirt. And simply by reciting the mantra doesn't guarantee that your mental defilements will be removed. It is like saying that you keep the antibiotics for tuberculosis on the table, and you recite that, oh, the antibiotics will help me, antibiotics help me, I will take the antibiotics. You recite 100,000 times, the tuberculosis will not go away. You have to take the medicines. So when you recite this more, this should remind you more, this should give us a greater rigor, greater enthusiasm to take the antibiotics of the wisdom of emptiness and universal compassion of bodhicitta. So the more we recite this, should give us a sense of urgency that I have to do these 2 practices as soon as possible now. Okay. And imagine that you are leading this, you are inspiring all the beings, the manner in which this Prince Siddhartha, becoming Buddha, he inspired all the beings till today. After 2,500 years, still people are constantly being inspired. This is what, imagine that I will take follow the footsteps of this great enlightened being, Buddha Shakyamuni. And today we have His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who's inspiring so many people not to become Buddhists, but to become a good person, but to become a good family person, to become a good member of the world, good citizen of the world, and not to create problems, not to create wars, go for dialogue, peace, and so forth. So we have these 2 great enlightened beings, Buddha Shakyamuni 2,500 years ago, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama today. So with this mind, let us inspire everybody to follow the footsteps of these 2 great enlightened beings, and by yourself setting an example for them. We'll say this 5 times. Deyata Om Gade Gade Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhiswatyata Om Gade Gade Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhiswatyata Okay, we will do a 5 minutes meditation together. 5 minutes meditation together. You can do any meditation. A single point meditation, Bodhicitta meditation, analytical meditation, meditation emptiness, whatever you like to do that. And those of us who have no clue of meditation, you have no, say, the formal instruction on meditation, I'll give a quick, the tips or quick instruction on the meditation. For others, you can now do the meditation now, as long as you are not disturbed by my talking. And those of us who are not aware, have no clue of meditation, for meditation, 4 things are important. Number 1 is the body posture. Body posture, if possible, sit cross-legged, but it's not mandatory. Where you find it very difficult to sit cross-legged. Those people with knee surgery, don't force yourself to cross-legged. Just sit on a chair, and whatever position is more comfortable for you. Whereas those who have no issue with the any health, then you practice this. In a way, this is a good thing for us to practice, to sit, to learn how to sit cross-legged. This is a good practice. It's good. And then later on, you can realize that with your meditation, you can actually sit for this meditation session for a longer period of time and more effectively, very alert, fresh. This one part. Then the next part, what is so important is the body should be upright. Body should not be bent. Body should not be too rigid. It just keep upright. And of course, don't lean against the support. Don't lean against the support. Just sit upright. Leaning against the support, you can see the stark contrast between you sitting upright freely versus sitting leaning against the support. You can see the difference. The mind instantly becomes lax, and the rigor the valor of the mind disappears. Then your head tilted forward a little bit, and your eyes not closed. Eyes not closed. And oftentimes, some teachers, some friends, they close your eyes. No, never close your eyes. Where you become very good at meditation. Then, through your own experience, sometimes there are meditations which require eyes to be closed. Sometimes there are meditations where the whole light is being stopped. It's made total dark, pitch dark meditation. And these things are there, but this is keep them away for the time being, and they'll come later to you when the time is right. So for otherwise, 80% of the meditation, eyes open. And for us, we have to try with eyes, we have to learn with eyes open. And later on, eyes closed can be done later on, that's easier. But if you start with eyes closed, you reach a point where you don't progress with your meditation anymore. So with this mind, we keep in mind that we learn how to do meditation with eyes open. And then breathe normally, and keep your lips and the teeth in the normal state. And your right hand or left hand, tips of 2 thumbs joining, and the 2 thumbs standing, joining, forming triangle. Place 2 in your lap in restful state and breathe normally. This is your body posture. And what you focus on is just focus on 2 things. One is a very tiny white dot, 1 mm or 2 mm in diameter between nose and the upper lip. A tiny white dot is one. Multitasking. While you focus mind in the nose and the upper lip, the count your breath. Breathe in, breathe out, and breathe very normally. Don't force your breath. Don't control your breath. Just let it happen very normally. Breathe in, breathe out, cycle 1. Breathe in, breathe out, cycle 2. This is what we do for 5 minutes. And this is your focal point. Number 3 is extremely important. Number 4 is extremely important. Number 3 is identifying the errors of meditation. What mistakes can we make when we do meditation? There are 2 mistakes can possibly happen. One is mental laxity, and other is when mental excitement, where mental laxity is when your mind becomes very inactive, and mental excitement is the overactivity of the mind. These two are the two errors which can potentially hamper your meditation. Should any of these two things happen, then go for number 4, applying the remedies to overcome the errors. What the remedies? Again, twofold. One is introspection and the mindfulness. Introspection is to keep an eye on your own mind to see if your mind is meditating, or is already distracted, or is in a lax state. And then whatever you have discovered, then apply the mindfulness to bring the mind back to the intended object of meditation. Okay, 5 minutes ready. Okay, thank you. Okay, continuation from where we left last time. Yesterday, what we said was that we come to get some clue, like, for example, dream. Dream is something which exists purely out of your mind creating it. And the mind is the subject as opposed to the object. So we say that dream is subjectively real. And let's say for the ordinary person without exposure to any philosophy, we say that the object which you picked up yesterday, for example, like this pen, or let's say like this, the glass case. It looks so objectively real, not that your mind, not like a dream, it is so real. So in a loose sense, we call this as objectively real. And then the dream, okay, let's say the dream, when you remember the dream, oh, it was a terrible dream, it was a terrible nightmare. Again, we see that, so that something which your mind perceived, but that is my mental creation. So we see one is from the object and one is from the subject. There are two. So we call, in a loose sense, they say, without even somebody who's not exposed to any philosophy, we see that what is coming from the object, we call that as objectively real. And what comes from your subject, from your, like the dream, you call it subjectively real. So from this, what we can see is that just as, let's say, for somebody to exist as a human being, for somebody to be a human being, it should be either a male or a non-male, or a female or a non-female. So this is the only two options. Likewise, for something to exist, it should either be objectively existent or subjectively existent. So subjective existence and objective existence. Of the two, this is what we learn, even as as a novice pertaining to the philosophy, without any exposure to philosophy, still we can be introduced to these two concepts. That one is purely subjective, like the dream, like hallucination, and so forth, and the other is objective, the manner in which we see, the COVID-19. There's so much of fear there, and when it comes to sense that your neighbor contracted COVID, particularly in 2020. Today, people are more relaxed. 2020, so much of fear, as well as this 100% objectively real person there with the COVID, and I must stay away from this. In fact, this is what happened to me last year, 2021, during the third wave, second wave here in Delhi, and the first. I came to know that my neighbor contracted COVID. My neighbor meaning somebody who's just next door. And I moved from my residence to Tibet House guest house. And then Tibet House again we discovered that people contracted the COVID. Now we know where to run. Okay, so what I'm saying is that I'm sure it happened to most of you. Please raise hands, those who had that experience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, many. Thank you. Okay, so then, particularly when the COVID was so bad with the Delta variant, we see that there's so much of fear, objectification happens. Okay, so in other words, even for a novice, for a laity pertaining to philosophy, that person can be introduced what is known as subjective reality and objective reality. Now, going deeper into the Buddhist philosophy, it's not really about Buddhist philosophy, it's the reality. The reality, we come to know that everything falls under the category of subjective reality, nothing as objective reality. And it's quite scary though. quite scary. And yes, this is reality. Even if you are scared, what do you do? This is reality. But the good news is that so once you get it, it's quite scary. And then but this is reality. So with this awareness that this is reality, and then you keep being exposed to this more and more, then what happens is ironically, it is irony that the earlier fear dissolves and the fear will be replaced with the very profound confidence and fearlessness. All fears dissolve. This is extremely, extremely so precious, so precious. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you get the first glimpse of emptiness and all your fears dissolve 100%. No, because glimpse of emptiness, it can be like, it can be like the first, you get the first dose of the paracetamol, or the first dose of the antibiotics for your tuberculosis, first dose. Don't expect that your tuberculosis will be over by taking the first dose. And I'm sure most of you know that for tuberculosis, they say the very standard duration is that you have to take it for 6 months, which means that for 6 months, 6 into 30 days, 180 days you have to take the medicines, 180 doses of medicine you have to take, without which you can't expect to get rid of this problem. Likewise, yes, once you get a glimpse, you become very confident that if I practice this continuously, consistently, my fears will drop 100%. One time, 2013, one morning, early morning, when His Holiness was here in Delhi, 2013, I received a call from the secretary of His Holiness. Early morning, I think about like 8 o'clock. And officially speaking, office hours, 8 o'clock is very early. And the secretary was calling me, which is very official. And I thought, what happened? Secretary of His Holiness. And he said that, Geshe, if you are free, then His Holiness wants you right now. Then of course, whether free, not free, what a great honor to, that His Holiness is wanting you there. So I rushed here, and then His Holiness gave a really very affectionate, lengthy, the instructions on how to what kind of works Tibet is doing, what to do, and so forth. And as a part of that, it just went into the practice also. And His Holiness said that emptiness, if one gets a glimpse, even if you don't believe in the Buddha, if you get a glimpse of this, your afflictions are bound to dissolve. This is what His Holiness told me personally. And it's very inspiring. So emptiness is not about blind faith. It's not about faith. It's not about, oh, Buddha. No. It's a pure, it's a pure knowledge. A pure knowledge. And because this knowledge has the soteriological purpose, that it has the purpose of quelling your mental defilements, mental agitation. So therefore it becomes a wisdom. Where a piece of knowledge, for example, 2 + 3 = 5. This piece of knowledge, but does not have the capacity to quell your afflictions, negative emotions. Therefore, it is not a wisdom. It is a knowledge, but it's not a wisdom. So knowledge, imbibing which quells your agitations, that is wisdom. So this wisdom emptiness, this is so, so precious. So initially, you might get a tinge of a fear. If you do get it, you are very lucky that you are getting the proper track. And even this feeling of a tinge of fear is not because that this has the nature to create fear in you. It's because of the clash happening between your new perception and your old perception, old belief in things as so objectively real, believing the dream as dream in the dream. You wake up, you cannot believe the dream to be real, dream to be dream. Oh, sorry, the dream as real in the dream. You wake up, you say dream is not real. So there's a clash between these two reflections. One, believing things as object real, the way you believe the dream is real in the dream. You wake up, partly you wake up, and you say, no, things don't exist the way they appear to me. They are all subject real, they're not object real. So, and we see that this habit of believing things are object real, it has been since time immemorial. In fact, way beyond 15 billion years ago, when the Big Bang is believed to have started, way beyond that, it happened before that. This is a chronic disease that we have. Although it does not have any foundation of wisdom, any foundation of intelligence, but it is this push is there, this gravity is there because of the being chronic. Now you are introducing something else to realize the wisdom, to see the reality. So these two are directly in opposition pertaining to the drive, very opposite forces, because this force, this clash is reflected in the form of a fear within you. What is a fear? You don't expect something to happen and suddenly something happens. What you expect is something nice, and what you see is something unnice. When these two things happen, then you cannot really digest it. So how to get away from, you don't know how to get away from this, that is reflected in the form of explosion, fear. So the fear is the indication that you have introduced the other force, the counter force, the wisdom of emptiness, which is so precious. Then over time, as you get used to the wisdom which you newly introduced, because of which, as the wisdom is introduced more and more, then the negative force, the counter force becomes less. And then you see that the agitation created by this, the self-grasping ignorance, believing things are object real, agitation starts to subside. As the fire subsides, the gold which turned liquid will become more solid. As the fire of the self-grasping ignorance subsides, all the agitation subsides. And then you start to feel a very profound peace. Okay. Now, a continuation from where we left the last time. What we said is that for okay, do you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, seems like there's some problem with the...
Yeah, it seems there's some connection issues, maybe.
Okay, the voice, can you hear me? Can
Yes,
you hear me well?
We can hear the voice, yes.
Okay, good. So then although there's a little, what do I call it?
The video seems stuck, yes.
Okay, there's a glitch there, the video with the glitch. Don't worry, as long as the sound is there, it's fine. Okay, and the four heart sutra. So finally, how to introduce this wisdom of emptiness? Wisdom of emptiness, not only wisdom, the wisdom imbued with compassion. Wisdom, only the wisdom alone will only take you to be away from the fears and put you into the forest. Put in forest that nobody is harassing you. You're freed from the harassment from the world. You're freed. But this is not the full story of your true nature. Your true nature is not only that you are fearless, but you have infinite happiness. For the infinite happiness, the other side is still infinite love and affection. For that, you have to reach out to other people. You don't run away. Reach out to other people, where the other people not affect you, fearless, at the same time you reach out, the infinite joy. So this is possible where the wisdom is imbued with compassion, universal compassion, or bodhicitta. So with this in mind, Heart Sutra, to understand what the contents of the Heart Sutra, we need to know 3 points. One, what is the question asked by Shariputra to Avalokiteshvara? The question asked is, how should the child of a lineage practice the professional wisdom? This question. What do we mean by child of the lineage? Anybody who wishes to become a Buddha, anybody who wishes to awaken the seed of perfection within yourself so that you experience infinite happiness and you experience fearlessness and infinite happiness, to embrace all other beings, to share the same with them. This is the meaning of the child of the lineage. And believe it or not, as I said earlier, just as I don't belong to any lineage, meaning any lineage of the kings, queens, or this, that, and so forth. I'm from a very simple family, humble family. But I can be the holder of the best of the lineages. What is that? The lineage of the fully awakened state, lineage of the Buddhas. And each one of us, like each one of you also, you have the capacity to be the holder of the best of the lineages, which is far, 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 far more without comparison with the other lineages, like the lineage of the kings, queens, presidents, prime ministers, and so forth. Also, you can also do that. So how? The moment you generate this desire that may I become Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings, you become the holder of the best of the lineages in this universe. So given that you're holding this lineage, now you become a very important person, holding the lineage of the full awakened state. What responsibility do you have? For example, like the young prince in the olden times. Young prince, yes, people respect him so much. People accord such respect to this young prince. He has a special duty to become the king and to safeguard his citizens, supposed to be. And sometimes they exploit the citizens instead of helping, but supposed to be helping the citizens. So there's a huge responsibility. Likewise, you now becoming the holder of the best of the lineages, that is the lineage of the Buddha, you have a special responsibility. What is that? To become a Buddha. How to become a Buddha? You don't have to look for Buddhahood outside. Acharya Nagabodhi, a student of Arya Nagarjuna, said that Buddhahood is not bestowed upon you by anyone, nor anybody holds the cause of the Buddhahood for you. It is you, through discovering your own seed of the Buddhahood inside, that you become a Buddha. This is what the Acharya Nagabodhi said. So with this mind, each one of us, we have the seed of perfection. The Buddha nature is within each one of us. Whether you are Buddhist or not, this doesn't matter. Whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. Whether you're rich, poor, educated, uneducated, it doesn't matter. Everyone has the seed of perfection. Why don't we see the seed of perfection? Because it is mixed with the mud of the mental defilements. Our job is to remove the mental defilements, mud of the mental defilements, and the seed inside is the glow. The gold inside is bound to glow. Okay, how to remove the mental dirt? So that is your job. You, as having promised to be a holder of the best of the lineage of the Buddhas. So your job is to remove the mental dirt. How to remove the dirt? So first, how to remove the dirt? This was a question asked by Shariputra to Aravalokiteshvara. Then the Aravalokiteshvara went into great detail how to remove the dirt. Dirt is nothing but believing in the dream as real. That misconception, that is a dirt. And within this dirt, then all things can happen. Just amazing. In the dream, how many ever dreamt of, let's say that, how many ever dreamt of fighting with somebody? Or raise hands. Verbal fights or physical fights, whatever, right? Okay. Husband and wife fights. Or they say the boyfriend and girlfriend fights, parent-children conflicts. And how many of you dreamt of embracing your mom, embracing your child? Raise hands. Or embracing your friends, so kind friend, raise hands. Look, this is amazing. So in the dream, how you can react very differently, sometimes very loving, sometimes very unloving, anger, fights. And the fabric, the fabric of all these contents of the dream is just one thing. It's an unreal dream. It's just a dream. It's a dream. So Acharya Chandrakirti, in his text, Madhyamik Avatar, entry in the middle, and I suppose all of you to study this eventually. You must study this if you want to wake up from the sleep of ignorance. The text is known as Entry into the Middle Way. Sometimes translators translate it as Supplement to the Middle Way by Acharya Chandrakirti. So you must study that. So there, what he said is that, say, in the dream, those who fight, those who lovingly they embrace others, which of the two is happier? Of course, the one who embraces the other, that's much happier rather than fighting. So Acharya Chandrakirti, he said it so beautifully. He said that some people, they fight and the outcome is severe miseries. Some people, they embrace each other with love and care, and there's a joy. Some people wake up from the sleep and freed, liberated from both. This is beautiful. This is amazing. So the fabric of both, that in the dream, fighting with somebody in the dream, embracing somebody with love and affection in the dream, both the fabric is the belief that the dream is real. The moment you wake up, you transcend what is likes and what is dislikes. This is the transcendental likes, transcendental happiness. So what's the difference between the mundane happiness, the dream happiness, and the transcendental happiness? Is that dream happiness, there's a tendency to give rise to the next dream, unhappiness. With the transcendental happiness, all these unhappinesses, they're all just cut for good. That is the reliable happiness for good. Whereas the dream happiness, given that dream is not in your hand. Okay, if I give you the example, if I ask you, how many you like to have the dream to be having an audience with His Holiness? Raise hands. Not only having audience, you are so excited to think of getting audience with His Holiness. Say that Shahala is taking all of you. And then His Holiness miraculously offered Shahala, why don't you have your group? Why don't you have the whole team or group to have a cup of tea with me? How many are happy? Raise hands. Wow, what an honor. What? Wow, everybody likes to have this dream. My next question to you. How many of you will have this dream tonight? Raise hands. How many of you will have this dream tonight? Why not? It's so beautiful dream. Why don't you want to have this? Why you are not going to have this dream tonight? Why? Why not? Anyone? Very quick. Somebody. Very quick. Okay, there's what is. Let's see the Minglat. Huh? Basu. Kaundilat Minglam. Chandi Basu. Unmute. That sounds good. Hey, oh yeah, yes. Tell me.
Yeah, I would like to have the dream tonight of seeing and meeting the Dalai Lama himself.
No, what I said is, my question is that there are two questions. The first already answered. How many of you like to have the dream of His Holiness the Dalai Lama? You are having with the audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and Mr. Shala taking all of you there, and His Holiness talking to Mr. Shala. Oh, Shala, that's if you and the team, the whole group, will have the tea together with me, right? How many of you like to have this dream? You all said yes, I'll have this dream. Second question. So the first question is done. Second question. How many of you will have this dream tonight? Right? And nobody raised hand. Why? My question to you is, why you are not going to have this dream tonight? Why? It's a very pleasant dream. This is my question.
Yeah, I will have the dream tonight. This will stay with me. This will stay with me, and I will have the dream tonight.
Oh, you will have this dream tonight?
I think so.
I'm not asking whether you think so or not. I'm asking how many of you are definitely going to have this dream tonight. For example, say, okay, today I'll go to shop and I'll say Gucci. right? It is in your hand. Or you say that I'll go to a restaurant and I'll grab a falafel. That is in your hand. You can do it. You have a choice. But okay, tonight I'll go to my bed and then I will dream of having His Holiness that I'm inviting us for a cup of tea. Who's going to do that? Raise hands. Okay. So why you're not going to do that? Anybody? Why? Why not? Why not? Huh? Elisha, why you're not going to have this dream tonight? Unmute. Yes.
Sorry, I said I will have. I want to have it.
No, you want to have, and you will have. These two are different.
Everybody wants to have when I want to dream about something, I can do it at night.
Sometimes, not definite. So I asked definitely who's going to have this dream tonight. Okay. David La, why you're not going to have this dream tonight? It's a very pleasant dream.
Well, I really would like to, but I don't think any of us, or at least not me, have the freedom to choose.
How many agree with David? Raise hands. How many agree with David? Yes. One demerit with the dream, however pleasant the dream is, we don't have the freedom to choose the dream. Dream means lack of freedom to choose. Lack of freedom is misery. Let's not forget it. What is misery? What is suffering? Suffering is lack of freedom. A lack of freedom. For example, COVID is the suffering. Why? I don't have the freedom not to have the COVID. So lack of freedom is misery. The dream, you don't have the freedom to choose the dream. That is the suffering. Although it can be a very pleasant dream, but the nature of this dream is that you don't have freedom to choose that. That is misery. So you want to be free from miseries. You want to become fearless. Total miserylessness. You want to experience that. So therefore, there's some people, Acharya Chandra said, some people they see things objectively real, and then they commit negative karmas by fighting, engaging 10 non-virtuous karmas, and so forth, and they suffer terribly. Some people believing in the dream as real, believing things are objectively real, and they engage in virtues and they have happiness. And some, the wise people, they wake up from the sleep of ignorance and then they are totally freed from all vulnerabilities, all lack of the freedom. You're freed. That is the definite goodness. Whereas the happiness that you have in the dream is all temporary goodness, not the definite goodness. Okay, so how to attain that definite goodness of fearlessness, definite goodness of infinite happiness? How can you attain that? This question. So for this, the Avalokiteshvara explained in great detail how to wake up from the sleep of ignorance fully. If you wake up partially, you become fearless. If you wake up fully, not only you become fearless, you can engage with the world with so much of the universal compassion, and that you experience the infinite happiness. Meanwhile, the world cannot affect you because you are seeing them as dream. And that you interact with the beings with love and affection, you experience infinite happiness. So that is becoming Buddha. Becoming Buddha. Okay, so how to attain that? This is what Avalokiteshvara explained. Then the third part is that what is the benefit if we practice as indicated by Avalokiteshvara? Then the response is given after the part which we're going to read now. That is that at that point, you are fully awakened, and that you are not affected by the contents of dream anymore, and that you embrace all beings. There's nothing which deters, nothing which hinders you from embracing all the sentient beings with total love and affection, which amounts you to experience the infinite happiness. Okay, and all the Buddhas of the three times, the past, present, future, they traverse through this entrance of the universal wisdom imbued with the spirit of universal compassion. This is the only gate through which anybody of the past, present, future can become fully awakened. Okay, this is benefit. So with this in mind, second part we are reading now, that is that how does one wake up fully from the experience, fully from the dream, from ignorance, the sleep of the ignorance? How can we get up from this fully? So for that matter, for this, Avalokiteshvara is explaining how to wake up fully. How to wake up fully is by seeing what is known as all-encompassing emptiness. All-encompassing emptiness. And for example, say how we meditate on emptiness in general, it is not all-encompassing. For example, okay, let's say that I feel so attached to, let's say, the chocolate, cheesecake. So if I don't cut my attachment to cheesecake or the chocolate, then I will be more and more severely diabetic. I should be careful with this. So how to cut the attachment to the cheesecake? Or I'm so angry towards my, towards my mom, towards my dad. Okay, so there, how should I cut this? And some people, so generally speaking, when one reaches age 16, 17, then somehow it's very strange that the child becomes dissociated with one's parents. That's very strange. I don't understand it. And then for them, the parents, they are like the obstacles, to your fun and happiness. This is extremely sad. Okay, so whereas some people, they know that this is wrong, that, that I'm dissociating from my parents. This is wrong, but still they say you feel disconnected. Okay, that happens. So how to they get out of all these problems? So for this, and let's say, okay, then you go to, let's say, your teacher. So how should I do this? And the teacher, let's say, wake up from the sleep of ignorance. Now, meditate on emptiness. Emptiness of what? Emptiness of parents. The moment in your mind, your parents, you see the emptiness of the parents don't exist objectively, they exist just subjectively, then you are saying unease dissolves. Then you meditate on emptiness of the parents. You just see the emptiness of parents, but not the emptiness of all other phenomena. So the emptiness that you're getting is not all encompassing. So whereas our job is to experience all encompassing the emptiness, so that nothing in the universe can affect you at all. Okay. So with this, Avalokiteshvara so skillfully was explaining the all-encompassing emptiness through first beginning from the self. That be very honest to yourself and the residents, those who feel that, yes, in my life, the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, however old you are, just be very honest and the resident, if you agree with me that, yes, in this last, for example, today I'm 55, last 55 years, in this world, what is that thing that you consider as the most important thing? To be very honest, myself. How many agree with me, residents? Because say of the 100%, the earnings that you get, minimum 60-70% you spend after yourself. And some of you may not agree. No, I spend mostly on my children. My children, again, because of me, my children, not to other children, right? Okay. Let's be very honest. Let's be very honest. So Avalokiteshvara started from the self, which you feel so fixated to self, that the self is like a dream. In what way? Just as the flower is a bunch of atoms, there's nothing there's the flower to be identified from the object. Likewise, the self, besides the 5 aggregates, which you discussed yesterday, besides the 5 aggregates, there's nothing to be identified as the self. It's very strange. Say we talk about male, female. You go into the body parts, then it was the cells, then it was molecules, then it was atoms. Where's the male? Where's the female? It's just totally coming 100% projection of a mind. On the atomic level, it's just all same. It's same. That's amazing. Okay, so besides these atoms, the mind and so forth, where's the cell? There's nothing to identify with cell. Just as a flower, there's nothing to identify with flower. There's a table, there's nothing to identify with table besides the atom which constitutes the atom, the table. That's it. Then aggregates, each of the aggregates, aggregate form, feeling, discrimination, composite factors, and consciousness. Each of the aggregates are going to be seen that they're also made of further parts. Besides the parts, there's nothing to be identified as a unit, as the aggregate form. Form is empty. That's amazing. So for this, we at the same time, there's a tendency that we are bound to fall into what is known as total negation all the time. Negation all the time. Negation, which means that, oh, nothing's really there. It's just a projection. Nothing's really there. You go into negation all the time. So that can be one problem. The thing is that we need to keep in mind, say the mind, the subject which sees things, which experiences things. This subject is of two kinds: ultimate analysis and conventional analysis. And pertaining to you seek fearlessness. And you seek infinite happiness, if possible. Okay, if there is a possibility for you to get total fearlessness and infinite, I'm not asking that this is possible. I'm not telling you that this is possible. Let's begin by saying that if there's a possibility for you to acquire the total fearlessness and infinite happiness, how many of you would agree with me that this is the ultimate thing that I'm seeking? And in the process, say infinite happiness means infinite unconditional love for all beings. Okay, how many of you would be happy with this response? Okay, good. So if that is the case, then we see that let's say that the fear, when we wake up to see that the dream is not real, your fears dissolve. The first part, I'm dealing with the first part, fearlessness. When you see that the dream is not real, not from the object real, it's coming from the subject. When you see the dream is purely coming from the subject, not from the object, this is the time you wake up. At that point, your fear dissolves. So the wisdom of emptiness, that things are empty from the object, that makes you dissolve your fears. And if the wisdom takes the full force, then the fear dissolves completely. This is the fearlessness, number one. At the same time, and this wisdom to see things as empty of object reality, that is possible only through the ultimate analysis. So ultimate analysis helps you to acquire the fearlessness. Then on the other hand, you are not, this is just half a story. You have two goals. One is to acquire the fearlessness, and the other one is the infinite happiness. How to get this infinite happiness? The only secret lies in the infinite compassion. For the infinite compassion, you have to embrace other beings. So for that, you have to see other beings. When do you see other beings? By the conventional analysis. So don't forget the conventional analysis if you want to experience infinite happiness. With the conventional analysis, then you see the beings, you see dependent origination. How you embrace other beings and your happiness simply exudes. Your happiness multiplies. So with the ultimate analysis, you acquire fearlessness. With the conventional analysis, it helps you to acquire the infinite happiness. So these two are like two wings of the bird. Don't take a compromise one for the other. You adopt both. Both are important. Whereas if somebody goes too much into emptiness, then you can potentially fall into nihilism, where you become cold. You can potentially become a cold person. It doesn't mean that you understand that emptiness is good. No. Most likely you're falling into nihilism. A good understanding of emptiness is when you're able to see the harmony of the two perceptions, ultimate analysis and the conventional analysis. Only when you see the harmony of these two, only then there's a possibility that you are getting to the right track into emptiness. Otherwise, If you disregard the functionality, oh, this is just like a dream, there's nothing really there, it's a reflection of something, and then you tend to ignore these things, then you fall into nihilism. It's not emptiness. This is what is well reflected by the trailblazer of the emptiness after the Buddha Shakyamuni. That is Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna, in his text, Bodhicitta Vivarana, commentary on Bodhicitta. So there, he said that the one who respects the law of cause and effect, after having seen emptiness, this is the wonder of all the wonders, and this amazement of all the amazements. So what he said is that seeing emptiness and respecting the law of cause and effect, you don't denigrate the law of cause and effect. You don't deny the law of cause and effect. You respect the law of cause and effect even more, and then engage in the virtues even more intensely. This is a mark of the person who has actually understood emptiness. Otherwise, just to say that no, this is not there, denying everything, saying that there's nothing there, just the consciousness, just emptiness, which means you fall into nihilism. This is not the emptiness. Let's not forget it. So the person, the reflection, the person who has really understood emptiness is that you go closer to this person, any person, no exposure to philosophy, even that person, even dog, cat, when they sense your being, they could feel composure. They'll feel so much at ease to be with you. Okay, these indications are there. Okay. So with this respect, first Aravalitishvara taught how the self is like a dream, yet it exists. Then how the components, the 5 aggregates, each of the aggregates, they're like dreams, yet they exist. And then they talked about the whole universe of impurities, universe of the purities, universe impurities in the form of the first 2 noble truths. Of the 4 noble truths, the first 2 truths relate to impurities. The impurity, the suffering, the truth of suffering, truth of cause of suffering. How truth of suffering and truth of cause of suffering, how even these 2 are like dreams. The purities, how you free yourself from the miseries, the cessation of suffering, and the paths leading to cessation of suffering. Even these are also like dreams. So now you are taking the journey to go away, to transcend likes and the dislikes of the first 2 truths and the likes of the second 2 truths, next 2 truths. You stay away from this, transcend the 2 to be liberated. That is the actual 3rd noble truth. That's the actual 3rd noble truth, cessation, freedom. Okay, so 4 noble truths. And then they say, we see that we get access to the whole world through the 12 sources. For example, let's say you wake up. Okay, I like to have coffee. I like to have coffee. And then with the coffee, I like to have a sandwich with olive. And then in the afternoon, I'll go for falafel, right? So falafel becomes an object. And the falafel, first of all, you should have seen falafel. In my case, the first time, not really first time, I was 2 times to Israel with the students of the Dalai Lama. And first time I came on my own, that was when Liorala, as the director of DFI invited me there. And then I was put up in I really, really appreciate my friend there. And in his place, he said, okay, Geshe-la, tonight, Shukila, yes, Shukila. Shukila said, okay, Geshe-la, we will have we can get falafel from the next door meaning very nearby. Falafel. I said, what is falafel? So he said, this is one of the favorites of the Israelis. This is one of the staple food of Israelis. So I tried it. It's really good. And then next time I went to the Bodhicitta, what is that? What do you call it? Kibbutz. when again we took and then the second time and third time when I was going with Shahala took me to a restaurant where he gave a really big falafel. Even half I could not eat. Okay, so what I'm saying is that, so these are all the objects. These are all the objects as the source, the sound, smell, taste, and the object phenomena, which means things that come to your, the thoughts. With respect to the six senses, eye sense, ear sense, nose sense, tongue sense, body sense, mind sense, six sources. These are the things with which your mind can interact. Your mind interacts with these the 12 sources, 6 objects and 6 senses. 12. So with these 12, then your mind engages with the world. Even these 12 sources through which your mind interacts with the world, even they are like dreams. And then the 18 elements, not only the 12 sources, including mind, even the mind which interacts with the world, even that is also like a dream. 18 elements, 6 objects, 6 sources, and the 6 consciousnesses. These are all like dream. And finally, how we are trapped in samsara by means of 12 links of dependent origination. Beginning with the ignorance. Yes, of course. For example, say, if I'm sick today, if let's say that let's say that I want to become the president or prime minister of Israel. But I have this body, which does not allow me to become the prime minister of Israel, because this is a dependent body. And till I survive, I'm trapped in this body. I cannot become the prime minister of India. I cannot become the prime minister of Israel. I couldn't become the president of America. There's no choice. So I'm trapped in this body. Okay. So we see that and this also, you want freedom. Sometimes I want to be a Tibetan, then I become a Tibetan. Sometimes if I want to become Israel, I become Israel. There's a freedom there. At the moment, there's no freedom because I'm trapped in this body, which means that what is that cycle mechanism by which I'm trapped in this particular body? Is because of the 12 links. 12 links. Ah, 318. Okay, so we see that we're trapped in this body because of the 12 links of dependent origination. And what are the 12 links of dependent origination? If you can, with the forward order or the evolution, how the samsara evolves by the 12 links of dependent origination, how you can possibly get away, get out of samsara by reversing the 12 links of dependent origination. Okay, 12 links, starting with the ignorance, karma, consciousness, name and form, contact, with the sources, contact, feeling, grasping, then the attachment, then the becoming, birth, and the aging and death, 12 links. This is what you find in this book. And this book you can freely download. And I request our program coordinator, Dinsi Lengmela, to put this up for anybody to download for free. And this is not available anywhere in the world. This is published by Tibet House, and you can freely download this. So what you have here, this is on page 318. Page 318, and there's several versions of this text, several editions, I would say. Several editions are there, and it may vary like by 1 or 2 pages up and down. So this, what we have here is page 318. And this book is really very helpful. So if you are interested, you can freely download this from the, which I request our program coordinator to make it accessible. Okay, so in the 12 links of dependent origination, the last circle, the outermost circle, you see that there are 12 segments. 12 segments, these are known as the 12 links of dependent origination. So Avalokiteshvara was explaining, yes, we are so badly trapped in samsara by these 12 links, through these 12 links of dependent origin. Yet, these 12 links of dependent origin, they're all like illusion, they're like dream. If you discover that, you wake up from the sleep ignorance, you wake up, you come out of this 12 links of dependent. If you discover that this is all dream-like. And then how to get rid of this 12 links? Again, by cutting the ignorance, you cut the karma. You cut the karma, you cut the consciousness. You cut the consciousness, you cut the name and form. To cut the name and form, you cut the sources. You cut the contact, cut the feelings, cut the grasping, cut the attachment, cut the grasping, cut the becoming, cut the birth, cut the aging and death. So you stop the aging and death, you stop all the miseries. Even these are also like dreams. So where you transcend good, the likes and the dislikes, that is a liberation. Okay, so now we're going to read. So this is a background, quick background. In other words, we have, if you see all these aspects of the universe, like the Four Noble Truths, the 5 aggregates, the 12 sources, the 18 elements, the 12 things of dependent origination. When you see all these as like dream, then you are closer and closer towards experiencing what is known as all-encompassing emptiness. With all-encompassing emptiness, what's the benefit? Then the possibility, the chances for the external world to affect you, it is cut to zero, which means you become fearless, total fearless. Okay, we continue reading from the text. What we said is that the form is empty. Okay. First, Avalokiteshvara explained that the 5 aggregates are also empty of inherent nature, meaning the 5 aggregates which constitute the self, they're all like dream, nothing inherently, objectively there. And also meaning the self, starting from the person. The self as a person is also like a dream. Then the 5 aggregates which constitute these 6 the person, they're also like dreams. How? What are the 5 aggregates? Aggregate form, fading, discrimination, composite factors, and consciousness. So the first says form is empty. Of the 5 aggregates, the first aggregate form is empty. So in the eyes of the ultimate analysis, you see the physical form as empty objectivity. In the eyes of the conventional analysis, you see the emptiness as a form, number 2, which we discussed yesterday. Emptiness of form. So from the object, what is seen by the ultimate analysis as a form, what is seen by ultimate analysis, the emptiness of form, what is seen by the conventional analysis of form, from the object, it's just one and the same thing. There's no difference. 2 perceptions are there with the sort of same object. What is seen as form by the conventional analysis, okay, let's say this flower. What is seen as form by the conventional analysis is the same thing which the ultimate analysis is the emptiness of form. So emptiness of form and the form, these 2 are entity-wise, there's no difference. It's just the same thing. Emptiness is not other than the form, and form is also not other than emptiness. So this is how you apply to the first aggregate of form. Then next comes aggregate of feeling. You apply the rationality, the reasoning, the procedure of reflection on the other aggregates. The next line. In the same way, feeling. Apply this. Feeling is empty. Emptiness of feeling. Feeling is not other than emptiness. Emptiness is also not other than feeling. Likewise, discrimination, composition factors, and consciousness are empty. Here, empty doesn't mean empty is not existent. No, it simply means empty of true existence, empty of inherent existence. Shariputra, now look. Now, Avalokiteshvara is expanding the objects of the emptiness. First the self, then the 5 aggregates. Likewise, all phenomena are empty without a characteristic. Empty meaning empty of independent existence, without self-characteristic. Is all coming from the subject, from something else, from the subject, not from the self-characteristics. This is not self-produced, unproduced, not not self-produced. It's produced by the part of your mind. Unceased. They cease, but they don't cease the objectively. They cease by the power of the mind. Stainless. Stainless meaning that, for example, we have the stain, metal stains, anger, agitation, all these things are there, but these are not your true nature. In the true sense, your mind is stainless, not without stain. Then what about, okay, it is without stain then. Even without stain is also empty of true existence. So you're actually, the reality is what transcends the stains and the without stain. Not deficient, meaning that we are deficient of good qualities. We're deficient of compassion. We're deficient of wisdom. But in the true nature, there's no deficiency there. Deficiency is also what your mind imputes, not fulfilled. Whereas you practice gade, para, samgade, bodhiswaha. In the process, you are being fulfilled with qualities. You are being more and more fulfilled with the qualities, gade. But in the true sense, even these fulfillment qualities, they don't exist objectively. They do exist, but subjectively, not objectively, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form. Okay, now the aggregates, again, there's no form, meaning that in emptiness, objectively, empty of objective reality, there's no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composite factors, no consciousness. Okay, now the 12 sources: no eyes, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object to touch, and no phenomenon. Okay, now the 18 elements. 18 elements means 6 objects. Okay, 18 elements, 6 objects, 6 consciousnesses, and the 6 mediums, or 6 objects, 6 mediums, 6 mediums meaning the 6 senses. 6 senses and the 6 consciousnesses. Let's say let's say object-wise, the flower as a physical form. Then the senses, I sense power. And then I get the I sense consciousness. So 3. Now with the smell, again the smell, a smell of falafel. And then the nose consciousness, the nose sense power, and the nose sense consciousness, again 3. With the sound 3, then the tactility 3, and likewise what? The sound and the taste 3. And the mental consciousness, for example, you remember, emptiness is a very profound concept. So emptiness is not seen by your eyes, not heard by your ears. Emptiness to be experienced only by your mental consciousness. So emptiness object, and your mental sense is sense power, and then the mental consciousness. Emptiness is so powerful, so profound. So 3. So 3 into 6 is 18. 3, 6, 18. 6 objects, 6 senses, and the 6 consciousnesses, or total 18. So these 18 constitute the whole universe. Whole universe is constituted of these 16 elements. That's it. If you remove the 16 elements, 18 elements, there's nothing there as a universe. Everything that exists in the universe somehow must fall into the category of one of these 18 elements. So now, let's see, this is how our Avalokiteshvara is taking us from taking us into emptiness, from the very small part of the self to the infinity. That is all-encompassing emptiness. So it says that no smell, no taste, no done. There's no eye element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. Look, no mental consciousness element of mental consciousness. So 6 objects, 6 senses, and the 6 consciousnesses. Mental consciousness is the last. So it abbreviates from the beginning, number 1, the object, element of the object, element of the visual object, to the element of the mental consciousness. So in between, total is 18. Now the 16, now the 12 links of dependent origination with which we are trapped in the body, and which we can possibly get out of samsara. There's no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance. No ignorance meaning ignorance giving rise to the samsara. Extinction of ignorance giving rise to liberation. Okay. Ignorance is also impure by mind. Extinction is also imputable mind. There's no objective ignorance. There's no objective extinction of ignorance. So on up to the last one is aging and death. There's no aging and death, and there's no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there's no suffering. Now the Four Noble Truths. Similarly, there's no suffering, origination, cessation of path. There's no exalted. And then finally, what realizes all these are all realized by the exalted wisdom. Wisdom to see they're all like, even the wisdom to see all like dream, even that is also like a dream. There's no exalted wisdom. And then with this wisdom, what happens? You attain the spiritual realizations. Even the spiritual realization that you get, even attainments, they're also like dreams. No attainment and also non-attainment. You transcend attainments and non-attainments. You get to the transcendental attainments. Shariputra. Okay, now, so up to this is how to practice the all-encompassing emptiness. So with this, we're getting to point number 3. Point number 3, that is, what result will we get? What's the benefit if we practice the all-encompassing emptiness to see everything as purely the subjective real, nothing as object, everything being empty of object reality? What's the benefit? So it says, Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, there is no objective attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom to see everything as the perfect with empty of true existence, that wisdom, the mind without obscuration. So once you realize this, as this mind is perfected, then this mind becomes, this is a mind where the gold is freed from all the mud, without obscuration of the mud, mental defilements, and thus without fear, and all the fears dissolve. Having completely passed beyond error, and then you cross all the errors, you reach the end point of nirvana. That is the real nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times, Buddhas of the past, Buddhas of the present, and Buddhas of the future, they're all manifestly completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. So this is how the Buddhas of all the 3 times, they enter this gate of the perfection of wisdom to be awakened fully, that nothing affects them, and that the mind pervades to all the beings with unconditional love, where you experience fearlessness and infinite happiness to benefit all the beings. Okay, we'll stop here for this session. Next is we'll continue in the next session. So we'll come back in 1 hour.
Very much, Geshe. See you all in 1 hour.
We'll recite the Heart Sutra mantra. We'll recite the Heart Sutra mantra 3 times. Deyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhisvaha Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhisvaha Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhisvaha. Oh, that is